And yet I feel a great amount of buzz and a great amount of energy around this football team. Not sure it'll last,
right.
But it feels pretty good right now.
When you think about how much buzz there is around just talking about the release of a schedule, once again, this is just evidence why the NFL is the most popular sport in this country. I mean, you think about it. The buzz, when a season ends, the buzz begins with free agency talk. Then it picks up with the draft. Then, of course, OTAs, mini camps, training camp, and then the schedule release as well. There's no doubt about it. People want to start making their plans as soon as possible. And now that the state of Pennsylvania and the country is starting to open up more, we're assuming that obviously people are going to travel more, especially football fans, to go see their team play, in this case, the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's face it, no fan contingent in the NFL travels any better than the Philadelphia Eagles. After covering this team for 23 years, I can testify to the fact that this is one of the largest, if not the largest, traveling contingent in all the NFL. It is a faithful, loyal base, win, lose, or draw, come hell or high water.
Let's talk about that, Gunner, because we'll see if they'll travel in game one. The schedule comes out and the Eagles open up the 2021 season, and they open up on the road. They go south into Atlanta, and I guess right off the bat, who's going to cover all those receivers?
Yeah, you know what? That's a coin toss. I'm surprised they did not address the cornerback situation a little bit more diligently in free agency. Now, we understand they were cash strapped in free agency, but there's still some low-tier veterans out there that you could have brought in, and maybe still the Eagles are going to bring some of those guys in. But they didn't draft a cornerback until the fourth round, when there were some other cornerbacks they could have taken in the second and third rounds. So when you talk about going down to Atlanta, you're looking at a team that was 4-12. They were last in the NFC South. I don't think the Atlanta, even though they have a new head coach in Arthur Smith, I don't think the Atlanta Falcons are going to be rollovers that first game of the season. This is a team like the Eagles that's licking their wounds. They were embarrassed like the Eagles in 2020. They're going in a new direction like the Eagles, with a whole new head coach, new coaching staff, new direction. Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator down in Tennessee. So Atlanta Falcons want to get the show on the road started properly, just like the Eagles do. The difference is the Falcons have this game in their own backyard, and Atlanta's arena, it's a dome. It's a loud environment. The fans get into the game, season opener. A lot of people who couldn't get to go to games last year are going to be there, Falcons fans as well as Eagles fans. But this is going to be a game where I believe the noise level is going to be as loud for the Eagles as it is for the Falcons.
When I saw this game released earlier today, the game one being on the road in Atlanta, Gunner, I immediately thought about that generational talent that was taken in the first round. Kyle Pitts, the local kid, will be in the lineup, will play, you assume, and barring any injury or early injury or anything like that. And he's out of the box. They get to see what Kyle Pitts is all about. And I cringe a little bit because I go back to the move of going from 6 to 12, because when they were at 6 before the trade, I was hoping for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Zach Ertz is still on the schedule. Now, we all assume Zach Ertz is either going to be traded or released at some point. I don't believe Zach Ertz will wear an Eagles uniform in 2021. But the bottom line is he's still on this roster right now. I believe that if they had drafted a Kyle Pitts, they might have expedited his departure out of Philadelphia, but they didn't. Tight end was not their most pressing concern right now. We've talked about this on a number of occasions. There are more pressing concerns, obviously. A number one wide receiver, a cornerback to play opposite of Darius Slay, some linebacking help, some serious linebacking help, some more help on the edge in terms of rushing. You have Brandon Graham, who's 33 years of age. Derek Barnett shows flashes of brilliance, but you don't know how long he will physically hold up in a season. So they need some help. Obviously, they need help in the trenches as well. So as much as you had wanted that tight end was not their priority. We still don't know exactly. We assume we do. We don't know who the left tackle is going to be for this team. So they've got some issues they had to address. And unfortunately, Krause, tight end position was not it.
Well, it all gets underway at September 12th. The Eagles go on the road. The first game on the schedule is Atlanta. John McMullen, NFL insider, co-host of Birds 365, jumps into the conversation. Johnny Mack will be with us and be with Derrick Gunn for this opening 25 minutes of breakdown of the schedule. And then on the other side of the top of the hour, Barrett Brooks will jump on board. I want to welcome all of those individuals watching in on the live stream. As Gunnar mentioned, don't get discouraged because you were not selected for the first jersey.
Right.
You still have 9 more jerseys to go. If you're on the live stream right now, go to the link, drop your email so you're ready to go. And when Gunnar and Johnny Mack finish up their opening breakdown of the schedule, I'll jump back into the conversation and we will pick. Let me see what I'm doing here. I think I'm giving away jersey number 2. I am, Gunnar. So after the opening segment, I'll give away jersey number 2. M. Forbes, congrats to you. They're on the live stream. They are our first winner. I'll drop off the conversation. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Hey, I'm still waiting to hear D. Gunn and Johnny McMullen. You know, you better mention one or both of our names tonight, man. John, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, all right.
John, good to be with you. Schedule.
As always.
Happy schedule day.
Yeah, man. As always, we welcome everybody into the JAKIB Media Sports Network. This is the official schedule release coverage. I'm Derrick Gunn, along with John McMullen, co-host of Birds 365. It is presented by Pure Bull Beef Jerky. Pick up a pack of beef jerky right now. Go to steersnacks.com. And everybody, as Joe Krause has been talking about, don't forget to subscribe to the JAKIB Media channel, especially tonight, as Krause will be along throughout the night, and he's giving away some great prizes. You just heard that he gave away one jersey, one number 10 Devonta Smith jersey. He has 9 more jerseys he's going to give away, and also he's got tickets to give away, not just for the home opener in 2021, but throughout the course of the season. So as I mentioned to Krause, John, I'm going to mention it again. I'm watching a lot of people in the chat room here kind of discouraged that their names weren't called, but keep your fingers crossed, keep your toes crossed, keep your head up, because there's more giveaways coming up. But, John, everybody's been buzzing about the schedule in 2021. And before we dive into it, as long as you and I have been covering this game, the one thing that always fascinates me is how jacked up people get about a schedule being released.
Yeah.
I can understand free agency. I can understand the draft, but it just tickles me to death that people get jacked up to find out times, dates, and where when a schedule comes out, man.
Yeah, you're right, Derek, because that's what it is. We already knew who the Eagles were playing. So now we have the times and the dates put to it. Look, logistically, I get it. If you want to travel to Las Vegas, you want to know what date it is. But the fact that, people, I mean, it is like Christmas Day in the NFL. And that's what the league does so brilliantly. You know this, Derek. It goes from the Super Bowl to the combine to the pre-draft buildup to free agency. Then you have the draft itself. Rookie minicamp starts Friday at the NovaCare complex. Then you have OTAs in a typical offseason. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the pandemic has affected things the past couple of years. You keep rolling right along. The best thing this league does is set up the calendar, because football is always on the front page. Everybody wants to talk about it, and the schedule's part of it. They've made this into an event. You got to give the league a lot of credit.
And let's face it, when it comes to football in Philadelphia, Philadelphia is a different beast from most NFL cities. This team can go 0-16, or correction, in 2021, 0-17, now that you have an extra game. And football is still king in this city.
Oh, sure. And, don't get me wrong. It's great to have the Sixers closing in on a number 1 seed. Unfortunately, the Flyers haven't had much success, but when they do, they're relevant. The Phillies are relevant. You go back to Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, that group. captured the imagination of the city. But Gunner, this is a 4-win team,
Yeah.
and people still are interested. And that's the difference between football and every other sport. This is a football town. It has been a football town for a very, very long time. And you see how jacked up people are. New coach, little bit of energy, new unproven quarterback, but people still have hope. That's what it's about. People have hope. And guess what, Gunner? If you go strength of schedule, I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. But if you're just going wins and losses from last year,
Right.
the Eagles have the easiest schedule in the NFL. So that's going to bring up hope as well.
Yeah, no question. All right, John, I'm going to go through the schedule real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll dissect the schedule and digest it and talk about the pros and cons and some of the key matchups and stuff that you're looking forward as well. All right, so we're going to kick this thing off with this. It is probably the worst kept secret of the day. It came out earlier today that the Eagles will kick off the 2021 season on the road down in Atlanta. Of course, the Falcons have a new head coach in Arthur Smith. They come back home on September 19th for their home opener against the San Francisco 49ers at 1 p.m. Then after that, they have a Monday night encounter on September 27th down in the state of Texas against Mike McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys. That's an 8:15 p.m. kickoff. On October 3rd, they're back at home to take on the Super Bowl runners-up, Andy Reid and his Kansas City Chiefs at 1 p.m. October 10th, they're on the road again at Carolina. Matt Rule, former Temple head coach Matt Rule, and the Carolina Panthers at 1 p.m. Then they have just 4 days to get ready for the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a Thursday night, October 14th at 8:20. After that, on October 24th, they travel out to, let's say a place that a lot of people like to travel to, Sin City, to take on the Las Vegas Raiders at 4:05. After that, they close out the month of October on Halloween at Detroit. And, anytime you go to Detroit, it's a lot of trick-or-treats in that city. So they close.
Deuce Staley, by the way, out in Detroit now, Gunner.
Exactly. So they have a new head coach as well as Dan Campbell. November 7th, they open up the month of November at home against the Chargers, against another new head coach in Brandon Staley, 4:05. He's a former defensive coordinator of the Rams. On November 14th at Denver, at 4:25 at Denver. That's going to be a good matchup, and we'll talk about that as well. Then they come back home November 21st to take on the new-look New Orleans Saints at 1 p.m. We're so used to having that man named Drew Brees at quarterback, but now they have a whole new leadership down there. Now, they close out the month of November on November 28th at the Giants at 1 p.m. December 5th, they play another New York team. This time they go back to New York to take on the Jets, who are now head coached by Robert Saleh, the former 49ers defensive coordinator. They get a bye week finally, week 14. Can you believe this? 14 weeks until the team gets a bye? Are you kidding me? So they get a bye week. Now, here's an interesting one. This one is not official yet, but on December 18th or 19th, it's still to be determined. They will take on the Washington football team at home. That's when they can begin the flex schedule. So it's still yet to be determined if that game will be on Saturday the 18th or Sunday the 19th against the Washington football team. After that, on the 26th, the day after Christmas, they're at home against the Giants at 1 p.m. Then they're on the road against Washington at 1 p.m. January 2nd, kicking off the new year down in Washington. And they close out the regular season January 9th at home against the Dallas Cowboys. And again, it's the crazy as it sounds, John. January 9th is game number 17, not 16, but game 17.
Yeah, week 18. We got to get used to that. It's going to take me a while to get used to week 18, game 17. And you think about, you always talk about teams, Gunner, how long we've been doing this. You say 10-6, 9-7, no more. It's got to be 9-8, 10-7, 17 games. And that's where we are. I don't know about you, but I look at the schedule. 2 things stick out to me. One is you see the dominant teams, and it starts with those Super Bowl teams, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, both at Lincoln Financial Field, though. So that helps a little bit in the fact that, it's not going to be an empty Lincoln Financial Field. 70,000 people are going to be there rooting for the Eagles. That makes it a little bit more difficult for the marquee teams. At least you don't have to face them on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing, I don't know about you, Gunner, but what sticks out to me, November 14th at Denver, once the Eagles finish that game, and who knows how difficult that game is. If Aaron Rodgers is out there, it's really difficult.
Sure.
If he's not, it's a winnable game. But either way, from that point forward, the Eagles don't have to get on another airplane for the rest of the season.
Isn't that something?
I mean, it is New Orleans at home, at the Giants, at the Jets. So we're riding up the New Jersey Turnpike 2 weeks in a row. Then you have a bye week. Then you have a home and home against Washington over a 3-week span. In between, you have a game against the Giants here, and you finish up with Dallas here. Don't have to get on an airplane after November 14th. That is good news for the Philadelphia Eagles.
A lot of people don't realize that not having to travel by air, especially long distances, that's a psychological edge. It keeps you more psychologically sharp, mentally sharp for a lot of guys, because by the time you get down to the latter part of November, a lot of guys mentally are starting to get a little bit weary, not just playing the game, but because you got to pack up, you got to travel, you turn around right after the game, you get back on a flight, you come home, you have Monday to try to heal up, then you're right back at it. But you're right, just to travel 2 games by way of team buses, 3 games? Their last 3 road games, they're taking bus or train wherever they're going. And that's a mental relaxation that could benefit this team, especially in the latter part of the season.
Yeah, no question about it. I love that home stretch because you look at the New Orleans Saints and people think, you mentioned, you almost have that default setting in your mind. Okay, that's going to be a tough game, but there's no more Drew Brees. So who knows where the New Orleans Saints are? They have to go a different direction at the quarterback position. So on paper, it doesn't project to be nearly as difficult as it normally would be. And then, those treks up the New Jersey Turnpike are easy on the body when you compare to, say, traveling out to the West Coast. And then you close with a month worth of games. Month's worth of games against the NFC East. And let's be honest, it's been a bad division for 2 years now, Derek. Hopefully, everybody, I think, is headed in the right direction, including the Philadelphia Eagles. But they're not – you don't look at any of those teams. I look at the Washington front 7. I say, well, that's a tremendous group. But the entire team, they're still looking for the answer quarterback. It's going to be Ryan Fitzmagic. 1 week, you might have Fitzmagic. 1 week, you might have Fitztragic. And that's sort of what it is. The New York Giants are still trying to figure out with Daniel Jones. And the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are the favorite. But we have to see where Dak Prescott is from a health standpoint. And they have their own issues.
No question about it. Every team is trying to move to that next level in this division. And as much as I hate to say it, I think right now the other 3 teams in the division have a slight jump on the Eagles.
Yeah, I would agree.
In terms of overall personnel. Now, when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, their defense in 2020 was atrocious. So what do? They go out and spend 8 of their 11 draft picks on defense. Their first 6 picks were on the defensive side of the football. So they're getting younger, and eventually they're going to get a little bit better. But they are loaded on offense. They have an offense that can keep them in a lot of shootouts, man. If those guys stay healthy in the offensive side of the football, people keep talking about Dallas's big 3 in receivers, in Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. But they forget about a kid named Cedric Wilson, who is also pretty quick and pretty sure-handed down there. You got that kid named Ezekiel Elliott running the football. Their line was decimated by injuries last year, so you're assuming their line's going to be healthier in 2021 as well. You look at that Washington football team. I agree with you. You never know which week Ryan Fitzmagic is going to show up. But when that guy shows up, as we saw not too long ago, he is lights out. When he is on. And they go out and get him another receiver in Curtis Samuel to go along with that kid Terry McLaurin, who is an Eagles killer over the last couple of seasons. Their defense, they spend their first-round pick on a linebacker to go with already a stout defense, which I believe was number 2 in the league in defense, if memory serves me correct.
Yeah, they are tremendously talented
No
up front on the
No
defensive side of the ball.
And when you go up the turnpike to New York, you're talking about a franchise quarterback up there who's on the hot seat. He's under the microscope. And obviously, New York is a media mecca. He's heard all the questions and the doubts about, is he the right guy for this franchise? This is a proven year for him. But the Giants have done everything they could possibly do to make it easier for him. You had a Kenny Golladay to an already decent arsenal of Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Evan Ingram, and then you go out and draft this kid in the first round, Kadarius Toney, as a wide receiver as well. And
they got Kyle Rudolph, by the way, the tight end. And
Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
And Saquon Barkley's coming back from an ACL tear.
And that, by the way, Derek, that's the biggest concern to me. You start with Dallas and you talk about Cooper and Lamb and Gallup. You mentioned Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. Now you have Kenny Golladay added to the Giants mix. Look at the Eagles cornerbacks. That's the one issue where you say outside Darius Slay. We're talking to Zach McPherson today on a Zoom call as the Eagles rookies start to show up for rookie camp. Zach McPherson's a 4th-round pick.
Exactly.
And you say he's going to have to go out there and potentially start at outside corner, which is questionable enough. But then you say, okay, you got to go check Amari Cooper or CD Lamb or Terry McLaurin or Kenny Golladay.
Yep.
That's not fair to Zach McPherson.
No.
Now, Howie Roseman has said, and he went back to 2017, as you know, Gunner, and they acquired Ronald Darby in August. And he basically confirmed, hey, we're going to pick up somebody. I don't know where it comes from. It might be Steven Nelson on the free agency front. It might be a trade that we're not even thinking about right now. But the Eagles got to get better at the cornerback position, or it could be ugly in this division on that back 7.
I think right now it's Avonte Maddox's job to win or lose. I think Avonte is much better in the slot, is a nickel corner, more so than playing on the outside. The thing I love about the kid is that he's fearless, very physical. He's a sure tackler. But his one glaring weakness is his height.
Yeah.
Against these guys. And you're talking about, among the names we just mentioned, a lot of these guys, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
And that's just within the division. We're not even talking about some of the receivers that Denver has. Tampa Bay has Mike Evans, 6'5".
Look at week 1, Gunner.
Julio Jones. Okay, Calvin Ridley, all these. So, and if I'm a smart coach opposing the Eagles, what you always want to attack the weakness. And I've got to test that weakness, which is shorter cornerbacks and unproven entities beyond that. Now, we hope that Rodney McLeod comes back 100% from that ACL tear. They added an Anthony Harris, a veteran presence back there. So you look at the safety position and say, okay, it's okay right now. At least you're not turning it over to a bunch of kids. You're turning it over to guys who have been around the block for a few years now. Is it enough to combat what they're going to face? And, we just mentioned like the number 1 receivers on most of these teams that we've been talking about. But most of these teams have 2, 3 receivers, 3 legitimate receivers in a lot of cases that you have to worry about. They can't cover everybody.
No, you're right. And that's been one of the issues and why the Eagles felt a need to go Devontae Smith and to trade up to get him, because they have been, and this is kind of amazing, Derek, as you know, 2 consecutive years not having even one wide receiver with more than 600 yards in this environment, in the modern NFL, where it's so easy to throw the football. And you're right, these teams have 2, 3 weapons at receiver. So it's on both sides of the football. The Eagles have to figure out a way how to stop it, and they have to figure out a way to get more explosive on the offensive side of the ball. That's where Nick Sirianni comes in, the scheming, Devontae Smith. Let's see what Jalen Hurts can do as a thrower. I think we all know he can extend plays and do some things with his legs, but can he throw from the pocket? And then we have to see huge jumps forward from Jalen Reagor and some of these other young receivers. We had Mike Quick on Birds 365 today. Mike was really high on John Hightower. I was a little bit surprised by that. I think, from looking late last season, I thought Quez Watkins maybe was taking a little bit more of a step forward. But we'll see. They need some of those guys to start contributing.
And the thing is, with this team, a lot of your skill position players are still learning how to play the game at this level. You have a quarterback now who has 4 games of NFL experience under his belt. He caught the world off guard. He took over in Green Bay and almost pulled out a win against the Packers before they made adjustments and shut him down. He turns around, he beats the New Orleans Saints. But after that, once people had a sample of him, he struggled his last 2 games before the season ended. So now that people have more film on Jalen Hurts, what are they going to do to try to defend him? What are they going to try to take away? But we have not seen Jalen Hurts in a Nick Sirianni offense. So how is Nick going to play to his strengths and disguise his weaknesses better? That's going to be great point, counterpoint conversation throughout the course of the season, especially early on in the season when you right out of the gate, your first 4 games, Atlanta, San Francisco, which is going to be a lot healthier. We know what they're like on defense when they were healthy. They were decimated by injury. You talk about the Eagles being decimated by injury.
Oh, yeah.
That team was decimated by injuries on defense in 2020. Then you got to go to Dallas and come back home and face Kansas City. Those first 4 games are going to tell us a lot about Nick Sirianni's offense and how he's trying to utilize the weapons within the structure of his new offense and how his quarterback is handling the pressure in that offense.
Yeah, and you talk about that San Francisco team. You remember 2019 when the 49ers were making the run toward the Super Bowl. Right. What Nick Bosa meant to that team defensively. He was like the last piece of the puzzle. He was so dominant on that front. Right. That might have been the biggest injury in the NFL because that shifted their defense so much.
Yep.
And he's going to be back at 100%. And I think that the 49ers are going to be a contender again. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be able to keep that starting job because, Derek, when you draft a quarterback in the top 5 of the draft, there's a lot of pressure to get him on the field. However, if you keep winning football games, that pressure lessens. I think Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers have a chance to win a lot of football games.
Hey, John, we're going to step aside for just a moment. You are locked on to the JAKIB Media Sports Network. This is our